Doesn't really sound like it. I said, are you guys feeling yourselves right now? Okay, listen. We're here occupying the city next to the world's most dangerous nuclear waste dump. Okay, let's just take that in for a moment. The world's most dangerous nuclear waste dump. So I'm going to ask you one more time. Are you feeling yourselves today? You guys, this is my friend Kathy. This is my father, Chief Carl. They have some stuff they'd like to say to you guys. So please listen respectfully. And give it up for Chief Carl.
My name is Whale Sucks, Kathy Sampson Cruzy. I'm a member of the Walla Walla, Cayuse, and Umatilla tribes. 25 years ago we were here. 25 years from now we're going to be here again. 25 years further we're going to be here. My father is Chief Meowk's head man of our tribe, and he'd like to open with a prayer and also some words of wisdom about why we came today.
Ketiayo, I naimo mimima chukuk na shwa, piam aklausha, shak patwai in our language. Good afternoon. I'm glad to see you all gathered here today. This is the homeland of my people of the Walla Wallas. Goes clear up through the Hanford Reach, clear over to the Blue Mountains, clear south along the Columbia River to Willow Creek. This is where my people lived and died. My leader, Pia Pia Mox Mox, whom I'm named after, my great-great-grandfather, gave up his life just a few miles from here on this side of Walla Walla. They murdered him. They took his life. When they did this, they totally dismembered my chief. They cut off his ears, cut off his hands, cut off his feet. They cut strips like this off his back. And once they scalped his head, they made buttons for souvenirs for those volunteer soldiers. That's all they were, volunteers, not real soldiers. But the price we talked about, we've paid those prices already. Years ago, this land was holy to my people. Clear up and down the Columbia River. Now look at it. We can't even eat the salmon that swims in that river because they're so contaminated. And DOE said years ago, I was chairman of the Nuclear Waste Commission at that time. They kept telling us it won't hurt your people, it won't hurt those fish, it won't hurt the water. But look what it's done 25 years ago. Today, we pray for our elders that have gone on. We pray every day for our youth, for our young ones that are coming up. Those leaders years ago, all the ones that signed the treaty, prayed 7 generations ahead. And this is what they did. They gave our leaders a medal like this, called a Peace Treaty Medal. This is a Jefferson Medal that was given to me. But I wonder whether it's worth it for what the price we had to give. We gave up 6.5 million acres that our people never owned. We said we'd be here to take care of it and protect it. But this hasn't happened that way. So today, Creator, we ask you to look into each one of your hearts, and your mind, your bodies, that you'll be safe from such harm that has happened to all of our people across this country. Katsiayo, I thank you.
My mother, over here, our lifeblood, our elders. They're not going to be with us too much longer. They used to tell us, take care of yourself, take care of your children. We ask that you think of that every day. Be blessed every morning when that sun rises. Put your hands out and hug that sun and be blessed and be mindful that it's going to rise one more time and we'll walk among this earth again. Be mindful that one day when we leave this earth, we'll have done good. And that's the most that we can say. Just in closing, I want to welcome you to the beautiful Walla Walla Valley. We don't know how many of our ancestors are buried here. We don't know how many have been dug up and taken over across the oceans, put in some type of mausoleum or sold off. But be mindful of this place. When I was arrested down at Jameson Park in Occupy, it was really hard. And for those people that stood with us and those people who continue to stand with us across the world, I applaud you. I give you everything in my heart and soul to be strong. So in closing, we just really want to be thankful today. We always want to be mindful and know that these children climbing these trees, they're going to be back here. They're just mischief little ones right now, wondering where they're going with Allah, their grandma, their katsa, their pusha, but they're on this traveling trail. Ay, katsiaya. Raise your hand like this, don't clap, raise your hand. When you raise your hand like this, you're praying, you're having the Creator hear those words and they're taking them to that world. Ay, katsiaya.
That was depressing. So instead of me saying something funny or saying something cool, let's just take a second and really give what she said the respect it deserves. And let's just consider the plight of those people who were here before us. Just for a minute. Just take like 30 seconds. Just some messed up shit, man. Alright, but real quick, I just want to make it clear that what we're doing today is not silence, it's not mourning, it's not sadness. What we just heard was very sad, and that sets the context for where we are right now. But really, this is a celebration of people coming together, activists from everywhere, concerned people from everywhere. This is team building right here, and this is so empowering and so inspiring that please, guys, do not let this be a depressing day. Do not let this be a depressing day. Let this be an invigorating day, an empowering day, an inspiring day to know that the future is in front of us and there are solutions that are out there if people like us come together and really bust their butts. So real quick, are you guys feeling yourselves today? Okay, now this next introduction is my favorite one because everybody that comes up here today is going to be awesome. But I'm about to introduce Miriam, and Miriam is the lady that put this all together. Miriam is the lady that had the light bulb moment, and she said, you know what, this is important enough to me that I'm going to do everything I can do to try to work to a solution on this. And I've never met anybody who is as badass and gets as much done with an email, a phone call, a hug, or a kiss on the cheek as my dear friend Miriam German. And I would like you guys to give the biggest applause you've ever given in your whole lives to this hardworking lady before she comes up and talks. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce Miss Miriam German. Yup, that's me.
Hi everyone, it's so nice to see you out here today. I can't believe today is A15. It's been a while in the making, and thank you for coming and taking the time. And And to those of you who are here who aren't really sure why you're here, thank you for coming. And for those of you who are here to wait for us to say the wrong thing, we won't be saying the wrong thing today. And we welcome you too. I'm going to read from my speech because I want to say everything that's in here and I'm going to forget if I don't, so I apologize ahead of time. Many people have asked me why Occupy Portland chose to come to Richland, Washington. It's very simple. We want to talk about the problems surrounding the Hanford site, which have been long suppressed.
You mean that?
Yes.
We are here because Hanford is here. The problems plaguing the Hanford cleanup are significant. We believe that not enough attention or information regarding the environmental hazards and the immense difficulties with the cleanup have been discussed and brought to your attention. We are here because living in Portland is living on the Columbia River. A disaster here impacts all of us.
I see that.
We are here because we care. Occupy Portland decided to create A15, a day of awareness and education, to bring speakers in, to hold a conversation about everything that is going on at Hanford. This is the Sunday before Earth Day. We thought it would be appropriate.
Like it's snowing.
Hanford is an environmental tragedy waiting to happen. There are 177 waste tanks holding 56 million gallons of highly hazardous radioactive waste. 1/3 of these tanks have leaked. This legacy of waste results from World War II and the Cold War programs to build nuclear bombs. And radioactive nuclear waste lasts for thousands of years. Bechtel estimates that nuclear waste, putting this into a stable waste form, has grown from $4.6 billion to unofficial estimates today that costs will exceed $20 billion. That's $20 billion. The schedule to finish it has grown from 7 years to over 20 years, and many technical issues still exist and continue to
Like it's
surface.
snowing.
After a decade of effort to attempt to stabilize this waste, no one from DOE, Bechtel, or URS can take this microphone today and assure us that the vitrification plant will operate safely. Trapped gas and hydrogen explosions like we saw at Fukushima and potential nuclear criticalities threaten the operation of the waste treatment plant. We in Occupy Portland want the proper attention devoted to this project. We want it done right. We do not want the Columbia River to be contaminated. We care. Nuclear power faces a similar problem. You cannot harness nuclear power without creating nuclear waste. With the help from our environmental leaders, Physicians for Social Responsibility, and Occupy Portland, we will pursue a major effort to shut down the Columbia Generating Station at Hanford. We don't need another legacy of waste for future generations to struggle with. A lot of you have asked what Occupy Portland demands, and we do have demands. Occupy Portland demands new, independent, external oversight for the successful completion of the cleanup at the Hanford site. Occupy Portland demands that all issues, the true cost and real schedule, be published. We demand that independent oversight is the only way to get this and the cleanup back on track. External oversight will see that the working conditions at Hanford are safer for the workers and, in turn, the community at large. Independent oversight will support employees bringing up issues. Without external oversight, the state of the cleanup will continue as it does today. Right now, the beneficiaries from the cleanup are the contractors. Meanwhile, our tax dollars are thrown into the pit and the environment remains threatened while they make their profits. Today we will hear from many speakers who have spent a majority of their lives educating people to the realities of nuclear weapons and nuclear waste. We will also hear about the environmental impacts of nuclear power on the ecosystem and why a world with nuclear power is not viable, especially when we have alternative energies available to us which do far less harm to the planet. We will hear from peace workers and from doctors and from people in the Tri-Cities community. Unfortunately, we will not be hearing from the organization in charge of the cleanup. We invited the DOE to come speak about parts of the cleanup that have been successful and to share with us the issues that need our attention so that we can bring the cleanup to completion.
Okay, sit down. Here.
Come over here.
The DOE refused
Well, go
our
get
offer.
Bubbles.
Yes,
You
they
can go
did.
play over there.
We tried many times to bring them here to the stage. The lack of communication with the public is part of the problem with the cleanup. We need open communication and transparency so that we can move forward together for a cleaner world for at least the next 7 generations. Occupy Portland welcomes all of you. We will have a brief meeting for speakers and activists following today's rally. We'll come together here and we'll figure out together where we want this movement to go. So when the rally's over, for everybody here who wants to take part in tomorrow, meet us here. Let's get the party started.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hand you back to Jesse.
Well, I thought I had some bubbles. I was gonna come up and blow bubbles, but apparently at the Dollar Tree you have to buy the little blower thing separately, because I just have bubbles. So let's just pour a little out for the homies. Give it up for Miriam German, please. And then once again, I'm gonna ask you guys do this in respect for the first speakers we had. I mean, this is really sad that we're here and that we're faced with such a crazy futuristic 2012 problem. So I'm gonna try my best to keep it lighthearted, but it is a really, really depressing subject. So just bear with me. If I start crying, it's because I saw one of my sisters crying. I can't handle that. So our next speaker is, I love this next lady. Her name is Dorley Rainey. Anybody ever heard of Dorley Rainey? She's a rock star. First, give it up for that guy with the tie. He works for Bechtel. That guy with the tie, give it up for that guy with the tie. Make sure you go up and shake his hand and let him know that anytime he wants, he can have my microphone. I'm not greedy, bro. You can have it anytime you want to talk. Okay, so our next guest is Dorley Rainey. She's an activist from Seattle. She's a beautiful, small lady. And she was actually pepper sprayed in the face at Occupy Seattle. So Dorley is an inspiration to everybody because Dorley encourages us to think outside the box and to not be grounded in your personal ideologies that may keep you away from being an activist or may keep you away from trying to change the world. Look at this lady. Should she be dealing with riot cops?
No.
But she did. But she did. She's a personal inspiration to us, and I would like to introduce and get a warm round of applause for Dorley Rainey.
Thank you very much for coming out for this wonderful event. I've been working against the problems at Hanford for many years, and I hope to live long enough to see it to its completion and shut down Hanford, hand it back to the indigenous persons in this country, and clean up the wonderful Columbia River. We drove up along the river, and it is one of the jewels of our country. And it is being defiled by greed, poor politics, and warmongers. We could live without Hanford if the Department of War commonly called the Department of Defense, did not decide that this was a good area to put a nuclear plant. They did this over the bodies of a lot of indigenous people. The treaties were very often breached by government. The indigenous persons lost their land, their heritage, their fishing. They lost their agriculture and more or less lost their lives as they knew it. We need to restore Hanford to what it was intended to be, a land for the people who lived here long before we came here. And right now, the Department of Energy is in charge of management of Hanford. And whom do we trust? Do we trust the Department of Energy?
No.
They are run by the oil companies. They're run by the nuclear industry. They're run by the Keystone Pipeline. They do not enforce environmental laws. They're in cahoots with everything that is bad in our country. And yet, they rule Hanford. And I would suggest that in the future, our elected officials, and we have right now 9 elected officials, 2 of them from the east side of the mountain, and you would think that they would be very concerned what happens right here. But we do not hear from them. We have a Democratic governor and we have 5 Democratic congresspeople, and all they want to do is collect more money from the spoilers, from the industries that pollute, from the industries that would take away our equal rights, get money from them to run for re-elections. Are we going to re-elect them?
No.
I think they should be thrown out altogether, every one of them, and get substituted by people who really are interested in what happens to the population and not to the corporations.
Yeah.
So I would suggest that the Department of War, which already takes 50% of our national budget, to have wars all over the world. And if they don't have one there yet, they'll have one tomorrow. And they will spend the hard-earned money that the taxpayers put in to pollute more and to promote more wars and more mayhem in the world. And also, we are losing not only our economy, we're losing the friendship of many nations in the world who just do not want to deal with us any longer. And I would like to know what they're going to do when everything is so polluted that we cannot survive. Do they think they and their descendants are going to survive? They're in this with us. They just don't want to acknowledge it, because eventually other nations will not buy our grains, our fruit. They will not buy our meat because the irrigation comes from a polluted river. And the food, the stuffs that we ship out is contaminated. And other nations are going to say, we will just not take it anymore. And what are we going to export then? More weapon systems, more drones, more bunker busters? We need to take back our government. And we probably have to work a little harder than we already are to get that accomplished. So I thank you very much for coming. And I always say, each one, teach one. So go out and talk to your neighbor, the people who still don't believe that we are in this shape we are in. Get them to come out and get them to help us to finally have victories with Hanford and other problems areas like the Trident nuclear missile site. Thank you for coming.
Woo!
she was a rock star. I told you, didn't I? Okay, I'm not familiar with everybody that's speaking today, so forgive me. But I'm looking for Sister Megan Rice. Sister Megan? Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Sister Megan Rice. Come around the back, hon. I don't always have to talk. Ladies and gentlemen, Sister Megan Rice.
Yeah, sure. Well, I really feel I thank you for this honor, really, of being invited here to Hanford. I thought I was coming to Portland, and then I realized that the Occupy Portlanders had organized this all the way where Hanford really is. I didn't know it because I come from the east, more recently from Nevada Test Site, Nevada Desert Experience. So I'm really coming to bring lots and lots of honor and wishes, greetings from several places. That's my purpose in coming. From the Nevada Desert Experience, from the Nevada Test Site, which for nearly 60 years now has been detonating 1,000 atom bombs on the sacred lands of the Western Shoshone people. I'm sure many of you know the story of that, and you have followed it closely, and many have been there. How many have actually been to the test site here? Yep. Gotcha, right. We've had thousands there. And I guess it's my only ticket to being eligible to be here, because I have had the last only 7 years living there. I was living and working in West Africa before that, but I knew about Hanford, and we followed closely the tragic stories of your dramatically gorgeous Columbia River with its living resources so damaged and polluted and diseased as the land and the life in that Nevada desert test site, which is the size of the state of Rhode Island. I also came today because I happen to be privileged to be in New York City on the 12th of March, or the 11th of March, excuse me, the actual day when we commemorated the Fukushima explosion or disaster. And I listened to young, probably in their early 20s, 14 Japanese men and women who had come over to be there in New York City in the USA, which probably was the source of many of their nuclear reactors. And those young women, I think, said something that you will all appreciate hearing. And I'm just going to read their words because I was so moved by what they were saying in perfect English there in Union Square Park on the 11th of March this year. And I think we can honor them and all the people in Fukushima for the amount of work that they've been able to do in this 1 year. Hasn't it been eliminating or closing down more than 50 nuclear power stations with only one left to go in 1 year? I think those are the facts. We have a lot to learn from the energy and the experience of the Japanese. This is what they said. They said 4 pages of this. There were about 4 of them or 6 of them giving these messages. I'm just going to give you 2 of them, very brief. This is what one said. Let me tell you what happened in Japan. At there, power companies get up to 13 billion in subsidies from the government to build a nuclear power plant. Once the location is chosen, the power company showers the locals with money. They take the guys to hostess bars and the old people to hot springs. Wine and dine, wine and dine. And they lie to them about the nuclear plant being good for the local economy. Have you ever heard that before?
Yes.
They
Lots of times.
actually have a manual on how to use the money to divide the community into supporters and opponents. Fishermen even sell off their fishing rights for enormous sums. And there's a PR barrage. Sound familiar? That nothing but propaganda about safety measures and secret dangerous experiments. Where does the money for all that come from? You know, from everyone's taxes. This is how Japan has aggressively constructed 59 nuclear power plants, either operating, decommissioned, or planned. And finally, they said, this means that our families and friends are now living with over 50 time bombs strapped to their bodies. Even if one blows up, the entire area around it becomes uninhabitable for all living things. And Japan built these reactors under the banner of peacefully using nuclear power. But the real reason is that the government wants nuclear weapons. Does that sound familiar?
Yes.
And so I'm coming to ask for a future action from Portland, Occupy Portland, and from all the occupies around this country. An idea has sprung up in these past 2 or 3 months that it's based on the fact that we never hear mentioned the United States arsenal of nuclear weapons when we try to launch a war into Iran, because they may have one in the future. And so we thought if we could if the Occupy people from all over this country, as well as in Europe, because there are many, and even in Moscow, we have a connection there, would give a day just to bring out the information about the United States nuclear weapons arsenal, which is never even mentioned, is it? Okay.
No, it is
So
not.
if we could do that, and not only do that on this certain day simultaneously around the country, also expose this horrendous plan to modernize and to expand and to proliferate nuclear weapons to the cost of what could be well over, if it ever gets implemented, well over $1 trillion. They talk about, you know, 650 billion, but it would be far more than that. To expand Los Alamos, to expand Kansas City nuclear facility, and to expand Oak Ridge nuclear facility, for the production of plutonium. So in other words, to make more nuclear weapons, not start disarming as we've been pledging, as the United States has pledged itself to do, the administration that is, I guess. Anyway, they pledged to do it in May of 2010, didn't they? When the Russian latest START 2 agreements were being held. And now here we are with this huge appropriation for expanding the nuclear weapons facilities. So if we could do that, we're hoping to spread the word around through your great network of communication and have a day, perhaps the 6th of August, the 7th of August, the 8th of August, or the 9th of August, sometime around Hiroshima, Nagasaki commemoration days, and all come out together around this country, in Europe, and in Moscow with the same message. What do you think about it?
Solidarity.
Okay, I bring that to you in honor of, in Washington State, your only one prisoner left in Washington State for entering the Bangor Naval Trident submarine base, to expose the fact that in this state you have roughly 2,000 nuclear weapons stored. Isn't that true?
Yep.
Bigger or less. Anyway, in the range of 2,000, being not only storing them, but constantly being modified, modernized, and made ready for use, which is, anyway, we don't have to say that to you. So Steve Kelly is still in prison, in SeaTac federal prison, in solitary confinement for that wonderful action that the 5 of them performed on the 2nd of November 2009, when they octogenarians and 60-year-olds got right into the place in view of the bunkers. So we honor, and Steve honors you and blesses you from his solitary confinement in resistance to the illegality of that trial, the illegality of the United States government for having continued in the nuclear business. And also Susan Crane, who's down there in Dublin, California. They too both send their love to you and honor you for your presence here today. And we all know that nuclear energy is linked inextricably with nuclear weapons. Thank you for being here today, and we honor you. Woo.